To be informed is to be empowered, and to be empowered gives you leverage to be engaged in so many other facets of lives and conversations. And that is primarily why we bring you conversations here at Speak Up Afrika. Welcome to yet another episode. And today we want to unpack a very important element of technology for us today. The education system in our previous government, we had laptops promised to our kids. But how practical is it when we have kids who are abled differently or have different disabilities in the picture? And to help me carry this conversation today is a gentleman that I can say with so much pride is a good acquaintance and friend. Bernard, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you very much, Wendy.
Karibu Speak Up Afrika. You can introduce yourself, then we take it away.
Thank you, Wendy, and thank you to Speak Up Afrika. So I'm Benard Meda. I'm the founder and ED of an organization known as Citizen Advancement Initiative. Mm-hmm. And therefore, as an organization, just to take you through, we are a PBO, Organization Public for Benefits Organization, commonly referred to as NGOs. But there was a new law in place that now shifted us from NGOs to PBOs. So what we basically do, we focus on special interest groups. These are youth, women, and persons with disability. And therefore, what we work around is upscaling them into the different facets of the society, the economy, social aspects, and even education aspects. And therefore, that's what we focus on more when we are engaging these particular interest groups. Yeah.
Quite a remarkable job that you do. Technology is evolving and evolving really fast.
True.
You know, just as I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, in our last government, kids were promised laptops, later laptops.
Sure.
And now we've moved to CBC, which is like a very heavy curriculum, very tasking, very involving. And sometimes I think there's a very blur line and a blind spot where we have the consideration of kids living with disability.
True.
And I think to begin the conversation, why is digital inclusion still such a big challenge in our country, especially when it comes to children with disabilities?
Yeah, indeed. And that's why our program is dubbed No One Left Behind. And in the programming that we're doing about digital inclusion, we don't want to leave anyone behind. So we are very intentional on the participants that we're engaging. And these are young girls or learners with disability. Now, why have they been left behind, or why is there such a big inclusion? One is, societal and gender biases, regarding to girls. And then the other aspect is regarding to their disability. There is the notion, or rather stereotype, that disability is inability. And then there's other conceptualization or mindset that, digital engagement is quite technical for them, going by their forms of disability. But that should not be it. Because technology, as we started, is evolving. Technology is evolving, and its adaptability is able now to capture everyone and different forms of disability. So the other aspect on why is there big disinclusion of them is the aspect of cost. Tech is not cheap. Accessing or just buying a laptop is not... It's not an easy endeavor. It's not a cheap endeavor.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how to explain this or how to tie this, because again, we're still struggling to understand how poverty and disability are correlated. Because you find where there is disability, then there is the economic challenge. So these are some, again, of the challenges, or these are some of the contributing factors why they continue being left behind, or why they are disincluded. They are not included, into the digital space.
Yeah.
So that's it. And then again, lack of inclusion. There's the way our systems are structured. There are special needs schools for persons with disability, or young girls or learners with disability. And then there are schools for able students or learners. Now, with this kind of lack of integration, structurally also through systemic structures, then you find most of these schools are ignored. They are not given priority because, again, they need so much attention. So I would narrow it down to two factors: societal biases, gender biases, and the third one is poverty levels or poverty indicators.
Yeah. Bernard, it's interesting how I think people come to really integrate with persons living with disability at tertiary levels of education.
Yeah.
I know there's a forum we shared with you where that was a point of discussion, that how do you even address them? Because there are different labels given to them, or abled differently, people living with disability. I mean, partially, like you said, there are very many, very many labels that are given to this facet of people in our community. But at what point do you think the society needs to normalize integrating with them? And the reason why I ask this is the mention that you've had of there are schools that cater for kids with these specific needs, and then they're quote-unquote normal schools. Should that really be the norm, or we should try and integrate both elements at a very early level of education?
First, going by their forms of disability, that should be the case. For instance, students with visual impairment, right? We need to have special schools for them that actually focuses on the impairment, and therefore the learning tools and devices and teachers have that skill set. For instance, visual impairment, for you to teach them first, you need to use Braille formats, right? So that's a whole different course or career for you to learn how to use Braille, right? Those with hearing impairment, then you have to use sign language. Again, this is a whole skill set that one needs to acquire. So if you go into those schools, it helps you understand. So it is not out of, discrimination, but it is just to try and capture them and, tailor-make or personalize their learning processes because they are slow. And therefore, when you go into, if you have to integrate them, but government is currently doing that, where there is an integration process, where you find their schools for special needs and their normal students. And then again, you go to normal schools and they've integrated special needs learners. So the integration process is happening. But by and large, going by the form of one's disability, then it is important that you're taken to a special school that has all the training, the experience, the equipment that are needed to enable the learner's education. Basically to help them understand. But if you just integrate them into those normal schools, then they'll be left behind.
They can
in
be
terms of understanding. Because a normal teacher who does not know how to teach sign language, he or she will just teach. And
not have consideration. But do you think it would be ideal for a blend and a mix of the two to be brought together? For example, teachers who are trained to be able to facilitate learning for kids who have these disabilities, but the institution is the same. And the reason why I'm asking that is societal integration. To be very honest, I think even for me, I became very self-aware and aware of people who are abled differently when I was an adult. And I remember the forum we shared with you that called me to a place of reflection, that when did I consciously start being aware of these people, and being able to just look at them as my fellow brothers and sisters in the community. So do you think out of that element, we should just have the same institutions, but capacity build them to ensure that we still give quality education to the kids with different disabilities?
Yes. In terms of segregation, or I remember the question you asked when we were in that particular forum, and it was, when do we stop seeing them?
Yes.
Or when do we start recognizing them? Unfortunately, it starts, family is the first institution, of life or in any society. And it starts from the family. A child who has a disability tends to be segregated from the rest. Right?
Correct.
And therefore that beats into their psychological, so they start developing stigma from then. And therefore subconsciously they stop integrating. Right? And then again you move into the society. So when it's time to play, they are left out. They're either, seated in a corner, just watching others play, whereas they can. Then now you get to institutions, you get now to schools. So where that's the problem is. So by the time they get to school, the damage has been done.
Yeah.
Right? By the time they get to school, the stigma is already there. They believe that, they are not worth it. They are not like other human beings. And that's not the case. And therefore, we need to start it right from a family setup, then move to the society and school. But good enough, you walk into these schools, because the program we're undertaking them in 3 schools. You realize that they have good capabilities of learning. And when you go to these schools, the least they expect from you is empathy. And they are able to operate well. You even fail to see their disability.
Yeah.
Because they've now adapted into that community. They've adapted into that environment, and they understand each other. And interestingly, again, in the schools that we are working around, there is that integration policy that government has introduced. So you find probably, just to throw an assumptive figure, you'll find out of 40 learners with disability, 10 are able. Right?
Yeah.
10 are students without disability. So that enables that integration, right? And they're able to gel and interact well and engage. And I believe that's what you're saying. So we need to work towards that parity where it is not 40 to 10, but it needs to be probably 30 to 20, some form of, proper integration. Yeah. But that's from the institutions we are working with, that is being addressed.
Which I think is a step forward towards the direction that ideally we should take even as a country. Let's pivot a bit. Bernard, as what threw you into this space? What motivated you to just take a keen interest in children, especially who are able differently, who have disabilities, and aiming to help them and make this space better for them?
To start off with, the main role of public benefit organizations is to intervene within the society. And therefore, you sit back and you look at the gaps, right?
Yeah.
And then part of, again, public benefit organizations is to try and intervene where either society has failed or government has failed. So again, looking into the critical aspect of special interest groups, we feel, or the narrative is, women have been empowered. Right? Right? There is that narrative, that women have been empowered. Today we have more girls in schools. We have more corporate women. Their rights have been honored. Though that's debatable. Because again, you look at GBV, then you realize we still have to do a lot.
Yeah.
Now, when you engage youth or the youth, they want to speak for themselves, right? You go to forums where youth are and they say, no. We want to speak for ourselves. We don't want you to speak for us. But then this special interest group that is being left behind, no one is speaking for themselves. We operate in a democracy or a governance system where the critical mass determines everything. But again, you look into it, the critical mass is less. You go by the UNICEF statistics or report 2021, we have 240 million children with disability. When you juxtapose that to the entire population of the globe, you realize that actually they are a minority. So out of duty call, out of civic call, that's when we realize that this is where we need to center our focus on. Yeah, persons with disability, because nobody is talking about them. No one wants to engage them, and they've completely been left out. Now, again, what drove me into this? There's a special friend. There's a friend called Jonah. I met Jonah in the civic space, and we engaged, and he just developed a liking into our organization. So he would come to our organization constantly. So that's when, and he kept pushing us, why can't you develop a program around this? Why can't you develop a program around disability inclusion? And he would express his frustrations, when he tries to knock doors because of his form of disability, because he had visual impairment. Then it's a story for, everyone takes them for a ride. So he felt compelled. Why don't we try and, fill that gap, or, why don't we try and fill that gap by focusing on that special interest group?
Taking your friend Jonah as a case study, that the society often doesn't take them seriously. What role then does digital skills training play in preparing this category of kids for the society that is ahead of them? Because I think generally everyone is like, the education system is preparing you for the future that you want. Technology is being introduced, AI is being introduced just to help you be better prepared for the future. So specifically for the special needs category, what role does the digital skills training play to help them be better prepared for their future?
One, I would say tech has been a real game changer. And if I'm to speak about the 21st century, tech is the fourth industrial revolution. And the beauty of tech, it has come with a serious adaptability formats for everyone. You've seen in schools or students use ChatGPT because probably they have grammatical challenges to comprehend or to build paragraphs and sentences and such kind of things. But tech has stepped in to do that. Now, the beauty of tech in this 21st century is that it's bringing solutions. For instance, AI. There is a product we are working around in partnership with Maseno University for special needs and education. And they're coming with an sign language avatar, whereby by using the avatar, you can use text or speech, but basically right now it's text. So you can use text and then it's transcribed to sign language. So what this means is that you can freely engage a person with hearing impairment, even if you do not understand sign language. Right? Even if you do not understand sign language, you can just use the product or the application and you're able to text and it gives a sign language. So these are some of the solutions that tech is bringing. To be specific, AI. So we are working around that. Now you go on to others like Orbit readers, right? Which comes to fill in the gap of Braille. If you've ever interacted with the Braille books, they're so bulky, right? They're so bulky, and you have to depend on the tactile format, and could be you don't understand. So AI is bringing those solutions, right? Again, way back, transcribing normal text, for instance, from Word to Braille format would take time. But today we have equipments, for instance, I would mention an embosser, which just like a printer would print out a Braille document format, real fast. So you find these are gadgets that not only in schools, but even in workspaces, if you can equip such technological gadgets into your workspace, then it now encompasses inclusion and adaptability for persons living with disability. And therefore, tech has come up with so many solutions. Again, I'll give you another example in terms of softwares. Just to point out, there is a school we are working with. One of the beneficiary schools that we are working with, Joyland Primary in Kisumu. It's for those with, it's a high school, Joyland. There are students with physical impairment, all right? So there's one participant, a lady, she's physically impaired and she doesn't have her arms. So what the lady has been relying on for the better part of her learning process is using her what? Her legs to write. And imagine how cumbersome that is. Now, tech has brought a solution in that there is a software that you can use speech and it transforms to text. So you speak and it writes, right? Those are real solutions. And those are some of the solutions that we are trying to champion, that they be integrated into these schools so that it can make learning easy for learners with such forms of disability. And therefore, they don't have to strain. You don't have to use your leg to write, but through voice or speech, then whatever you say is transcribed into text. And they are free softwares. So part of the thing that we're equally doing is advocacy, because Google has those softwares, Word has those softwares, but only that a majority of us are not aware of that. So part of what we're trying to do is to champion for advocacy, to highlight and school people and train people and tell them that there are these softwares that are able to assist persons with disability.
But that's like really, really remarkable. I think some of the measures you're even mentioning, I had no awareness of them. But I want to ask you a matter that carries a lot of weight. I think in this recent past, we've been seeing our government having cases stealing money in millions from our education system. You wake up one day and it's 2 billion and it's this and it's that. JSS teachers are not being absorbed into the system. We really are playing a disadvantaged game for ourselves and for our children who are in school. So all this information and advocacy that you're doing, the government plays a very fundamental role in absorbing it into the system to ensure that these kids benefit from even the free versions that we have. But Bernard, from your point of view, realistically speaking, with all these corruption scandals and cases that are happening, what is that future looking like for us? Because as it is, yani ukiingia tu shule yenye ni the basics should be a table, a chair, a teacher, we're already stealing from that system. So bring the tech that you're saying. How do we move from there?
Yeah. That's a governance concern, matters accountability. Yeah, but indeed, I would say I didn't want to get into the politics of that.
Yeah.
But I would say it disenfranchises these particular learners, more so the special needs children, because you go into those schools, again, the biggest challenge are infrastructure. And when you hear of the amount of money that we lose to corruption, and then you walk into these institutions, you realize that we don't even need to all these things can be resolved. Yeah. All these can be resolved because as an organization, we've gone into this program with quite manageable support. And already we can see the impact that we are creating. So if you're to turn the narrative, like if you're to juxtapose this with, money being used well, transparency and accountability,
yeah.
Then a real change, can be envisaged. Right?
Yeah.
But just to solve that, that's why in our programming, we are now partnering with government so that they can be able to see some of these gaps. Right? So in our programming, that's why we are now trying to have a multi-layer approach or a multi-sectoral approach in our programming where we can equally bring government on board and then so that they're able just to have a look or look into this, right? For instance, there is a program being run by government that is called Jitume, where they are building digital hubs, and they want to do around 14,400. Said that basically each ward in Kenya has a lab or a hub, right? Then you cascade up to the constituencies. Again, you find a lab at a county level, and then there is a national one at Konza. So far, it is working because all this has been set up in TVETs, right? TVETs and colleges and other community labs. So it is working. So we are partnering with government just to make sure that they equally focus on these special interest groups or these particular learners with disabilities, so that they are captured into that programming. So part of what we are trying to do is to engage, become a linkage between government and the special needs institutions that need government support. But like what you say, if all these funds can be channeled into the right cause, then even we as civic actors, there won't be space for us to get in. Yeah.
But I
because
think
all shall be resolved.
Yeah, I think that the space of civic actors is almost irreplaceable, because it's just to counter check and to advocate and to highlight and to shout. Bernard, even as we prepare these kids from like primary level of education into secondary, into tertiary, the aim is to ensure that they're well equipped for the workplace. So now we have a very lucrative generation, the Gen Zs and the younger ones. They're saying they don't want employment. They're getting into the gig economy. They want to get into freelance. They want to be their own bosses and do their own thing. Yeah. So from the organization that you founded and you're able to implement in these schools, how well prepared do the kids who have disabilities come out of the system and ably and powerfully integrate into a society where they're also able to say they're just going to do their own thing and not necessarily rely on employment?
Yeah, that's the core basis of our programming, the program that we are undertaking. Because you realize you go into those schools, they are computer studies, which is basically an academic curriculum. Now, as you're going into the space with real practical digital modules, so we call whatever we use modules, ours are not curriculum. Yeah, so in terms of that, we are trying, again, we have to do that skill set match, because of their forms of disability. But just to leave out digital literacy a bit, you realize that, and in the forum that we were in, most of these persons with disability have hidden talents. For instance, if it's singing, they're good at that. And therefore, there's actually, again, this creative economy that they can ride on very well. The creatives industry, or the creatives where there's TikTok, which provides a platform, and therefore you're able to entertain people and you monetize on your talent. So these are some of the aspects, again, that they can take advantage of. And then again, the new technological platforms that are coming up favors them, in that persons with disability or learners with disability, what they struggle with most is mobility, moving from point A to B.
Another point,
right? But tech is coming in that you can do everything from the comfort of your seat, right? You just need power, you need internet, and you're able to connect to the entire globe, right? So actually the tech, the 21st century revolution, which is the tech revolution, highly favors and adopts to persons with disability. And that's what we are trying to engage them in. Now, again, in terms of them utilizing the space well, or why it favors them, digital literacy. Those with autism, right? The society takes them to be, not to, that it's a form of impairment, but it's a strength when you get into the tech world. In that those with autism can make very good coders. You take advantage of their hypersensitivity.
Yes.
And you realize that now most tech schools are actually training kids with autism as young as 6 years, 7 years, 5 years on coding, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a skill set match that, we need to do, and then they're able to take advantage of this platform that does exist. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do, to have a skill set match for them, and then they're able to explore this, and then they're able to work. Online working, online marketing, all these favors learners with disability. And therefore, our practical modules of programming, the end game is on entrepreneurship. That after training them on these and showing them the opportunities, the end game for us is we want them to get into online platforms work, become web designers, do online work, online marketing, and all those forms. We want to end the traditional economic discrimination that community had, where they are only sent into the streets as beggars.
Yeah.
And we've seen that a lot, growing up. That the best that a person with disability would do is you drive them to the street and they beg. But today with their laptop, they can sit there and do wonders. Yeah. So then again, this calls for career building and development, so that we do away with the stigma, because they've been highly stigmatized that you can't do anything. The society has given up on them. It continues discriminating them, even in workspaces. But when you engage and you start engaging them, I find most of the sessions that we do quite engaging. They're able to learn. They're able to learn very fast. They know what encryption means. And this is at a young age. And therefore, we've realized that there is a great potential in them.
Yeah. Bernard, I think in your last few sentences, there are a couple of things that you bring into light. Number one, it's the societal perception of people who have disability, that I think you come bottom of the chain, that your fate is to always beg.
Yeah.
And the grand picture of it is on the road, but to other people is even at the community level, at the family level, you will always be the one people have to mercy on you, pity you, and then help you.
Yeah.
The 360 view of it is the civic space has a role to play. The government has a role to play. The community where they come from do have a role to play. And when we talk about tech, when we were starting the conversation, you mentioned that truly this is an expensive endeavor. Mobility is one of the challenges that you've highlighted. So even as you continue to execute in the schools in Kisumu, what are some of the greatest barriers and challenges that you're facing this far?
Yeah, like you've rightly mentioned, digital gadgets are not cheap. They're very expensive, right? If you have to go by the poverty index, where, in Africa it's less than $1, so affording one becomes a problem. That's the challenge we are facing in terms of infrastructure. Now, what we've done in the schools that we've gone, we've tried to equip ourselves as an organization by having laptops, having projectors to project for them, a few extra laptops for simulation, and then powering the institutions with internet. Because again, you walk into these schools, most of them do not have internet. But again, we are glad there are quite a number of supporters. For instance, there is one school that through a grant support were able to equip their labs, right? But again, it's just the physical component. But there is the software component that is needed, right, in terms of providing internet into those facilities. So in as much as they are being equipped, but there are still gaps which we are trying now to intervene into so that there is an end-to-end connection, right? So solution to this is, because these devices are expensive, the solution that we are trying to propose or come up with or working around is to initiate community hubs or spaces whereby even if you don't own a gadget or if you can't afford, then there is a facility next to your home or within your community reach that you can access, right? And that is why, like I told you, we are trying to partner with government through Konza program so that these hubs that they are establishing within the wards can be inclusive enough to integrate persons with disability. And it's very simple. For instance, there are free softwares there for speech to text, voice to text. There are free online softwares that we just need to install in some of these gadgets. So the solution that we're trying to come up with is set up hubs, right? Set up hubs, and not only for just digital training, but equally adaptability into other areas. For instance, there is a format so that even if and to spread it into the community, we have dispensaries, we have health centers, we have government institutions that have service charters. Now, these hubs, you want to equip them even with embossers so that you can take their a Word or a PDF document and it's transcribed into Braille format. And then you have it now. So that is the inclusion we are looking into. Now, just creating one space where then it can be a shared space, and therefore everyone, regardless of your disability or whether you're able, then there is that free access. And then not just access, but equally have trainers there who can have those, can personalize the trainings depending on the learners or the beneficiaries' form of disability. Yeah, so it's doable.
Bernard, as you speak, actually, a thought has just come to mind. Even with the softwares that we have that are accessible with AI and they're able to do all these tremendous jobs for us, there's the element of data privacy and protection. So, of course, the end user is usually the weakest link, right? And in this case, you can imagine these are kids with disabilities. Do you think the data privacy law that we have is well protective of them? And number two, do you think there's a need for us to say, hey, there's a call and we want there to be special inclusion for this category of kids that we are advocating for?
Actually, the data laws that we have protects all forms. Now, the data protection law that we have in Kenya protects all forms, whether you're disabled or not. Just like I need consent to have your picture and post it online, is the same way I need consent from that particular learner with disability
to be able to post.
Right? So there is the aspect, even in our programming, we've highly focused on safeguarding. So that's an aspect of safeguarding where we try to ensure that their rights are used and their form of disability is not abused. You remember way back, there is a term in the civic space which was commonly used, poverty porn, where you ride on someone's misery, right? That is why for us, for instance, in our programming, you rarely find us with pictures. As an organization, we find it a bit, we're still skeptical in terms of just having their pictures because it's easy to be blamed or it's easy to be accused of trying to ride on these learners' plight, to try and get some funding or support to do the activities.
Basically just taking total advantage of them.
Yeah. So our form of engagement of how we are doing our programming, we are doing it silently. And therefore, as what we are focusing more is on impact. Yeah. For instance, I told you there's one participant who's physically impaired and she doesn't have her arms, right? And all she does is use her leg to write. Now, you can imagine if you have to take such a picture or if you have to video record her and then you want to post it online, definitely you'll get a backlash. And therefore, that's why I'm saying we are focusing more on personalized training. So what we do is we get a laptop and then we are able to train her. And then we have evaluation framework. Therefore, hence trying to look into does she understand or not. So we are not so big on visibility in terms of trying to show that, but we are impact oriented. Yeah. But the laws favor them. But equally, what I would put out there is anyone engaging, special needs children, the first aspect they need to engage in is on safeguarding, just to make sure that they are safe, to make sure that they are protected, and to make sure that they are not abused. So safety becomes the number one pillar, right? And then again, unfortunately, you go into these spaces, abuse does not come from far. It comes just from within. Right. Their caregivers, it comes within their circles. Those who are tasked with taking care of them. So that is the biggest challenge. But again, to take you back into tech, why it's bringing that. Part of the features you're trying to put on some of these tools that you're developing are reporting features, right? Because again, you see what has always worked against girls with disability, when they're abused, they have to rely on someone to report, right? They have to look for Wendy, explain to Wendy. Wendy has to hear out before you report. The community has intervened, and it ends there.
Yeah.
But with AI and the gadgets you're trying to build, just through use of a device, they're able to report. Can send a message out there.
Yeah.
You can write a statement out there. So tech is bringing real solutions into this. Yeah.
Bernard, it's sad that especially in African democracies, hakuna kizuri kikosacho dosari. Sindio?
Yeah.
You have a very good program running that aims to empower, all right, and bring technological empowerment to kids to even safeguard their future. However, apakosi mahali ambapo someone will just want to ride on it and take advantage of it.
True.
So what measures of evaluation have you put in place when you're onboarding these children to start the program with you to successfully complete to the end of a successful training of empowerment?
So one, what we've done, equally even before engaging the participants, is developing a safeguarding tool. And one, it starts with consent. We have consent forms where it has clear stipulations, do's and don'ts, code of conduct, how to carry yourself and all that. In the same forms, there are reporting mechanisms, reporting tools, which are beyond our organizations, which is beyond the community, right? And therefore, they don't have to report to Wendy in that Wendy knows Bernard, and therefore Wendy atakalia, right?
I see.
So the reporting channels go global, right? So we give them emails again as a reporting tool. That's what I'm telling you. We are going in our courses, we are trying to have real practical digital skills or literacy, so that having an email address for a learner with a disability should be essential. It should not be it should be an essential. I remember during our days way back, you'd only now subscribe to an email because you want to apply for jobs. Because you need it in your CV.
Dark days.
Dark days. You just get an email because you want, job hunting and all that. But today it's a form of communication, right? So we've put in safety nets. And then again, with that, as we move forward, we are looking for more partners. If you've heard of SOS Village Children, they've been handling children for the longest decade. And therefore, they understand all these safeguarding mechanisms. So just to strengthen the aspect of protecting teenage girls with disability or learners with disability, we are trying to bring on board more organizations. And equally, it doesn't stop from the learners. We are equally training the teachers on safeguarding, and the reporting mechanism. So as we train the teachers, we're equally training the learners so that the learners are equally aware of their rights. So when you have that a dual layer of engagement, then the teacher would basically, protect. And equally the learners would know, would equally know how to protect themselves. But again, abuses come from within themselves equally, right? So it's a whole chain when it comes to safeguarding and protecting them. But again, we are moving to the community, where we now want to train the community on reporting mechanisms and how to safeguard teenage girls living with disability. So it's still work in progress. But as you say, still a lot needs to be done. But having gone into the programming, we are realizing that it's doable. The only challenge is that, they've been neglected, or such causes have been neglected. Hence, the, perennial abuse of these vulnerable girls.
Are there?
Yeah.
Take us through a scenario, maybe an ideal scenario that you really champion for every time, or if you've already managed to have a case that has been successful end to end, from entry to a place of now we can say Wendy was part of our program and now they're independently doing well. So how does the training look like? How does that empowerment look like? How do you position the girls? How do you protect? Basically a 360 view of what we've been unpacking in the podcast.
Okay. What I would say is, like I said, this is a pilot program, and therefore we are just testing it out. And it should be running for 15 months, right? So we almost made, we are almost, we are on our quarter 3 of the programming. So it starts here. We started with an assessment so that we don't, again, there's always been assumptions in terms of, how do I call it, tokenism, where you assume Wendy does not understand computer.
Yeah.
Wendy does not know this. Wendy needs this, just an assumption. So what we did, we came with a questionnaire toolkit just to test out, find the literacy level of these participants or young girls with disability. And to my surprise or our surprise, again, I'll go back to our, our youthful days, where after Form 4, the first course you'll do is packages.
Computer. Yeah.
Now, these particular learners or participants, you realize they are beyond that. They are beyond Word document, they are beyond PowerPoint, they are beyond Excel, and therefore they understand these things because, computers have been around for some time.
Yeah, they actually were born into the digital era.
Into the digital era, exactly. So what we started with was a skills, we developed a questionnaire, right, where we were trying to look into, where do we start from? Because again, with digital training, some level of literacy is needed. Again, this explains why we are going into schools, not community.
Yeah.
Because again, you go to communities, you realize that there is a big number who have not gone to school. So it's a big challenge. So you can't train them on digital literacy. Right?
I see.
So we did that. And then part of the team that we are working with have previously engaged persons with disability. Like one of our trainers has been training children with autism on coding. Right? So he came up with a questionnaire tool guide to just assess their level of awareness and entry points. So that led us into development of modules. So we've been able to develop 4 modules, where one is on cybersecurity, just to guide you, to make sure that they are safe into that. Then we have online marketing, right? Modules. We have AI modules. And therefore, what we've been doing now is develop the modules, try ensuring that they are real practical in that they can understand, right? They can understand the technical softwares of technology, right?
Yeah.
So we've been able to do that. And then now from there proceeded into now classroom and training them and all that. So what we did again to just test out and make sure that it's not another forced program, that it's educational. We are trying to move away from that. So the clubs that we formed, the participants that we're engaging belong to a club. So we formed a digital club. And then through self-evolution, we let them join in, right? So they joined. So we have around 128 participants so far, right? So they joined, and now through that self-evolution, we were able to pick or to tap into their passion for this particular career.
Allow me to ask a question at that point. So the schools that you're already working with, how that program rolls out in the schools, it's like a club.
Exactly.
So we are not putting it part of the curriculum that now as people are going to do, let's say math.
Yes.
There's this subject. So it's not, the approach is not a subject-based approach.
No.
It's a club-based
approach.
Fantastic.
However, you go into those schools again through CBC, there is a whole syllabus on computer studies. Right?
That now
just like
is
there
generally
maths,
for everyone.
Yeah, there is maths, there is science, there is geography, but there is computer studies that is general for everyone, right? But you see, what we're looking into is the practicability of digital literacy. So you see computer studies, you might find it's just normal packages. What is a computer? A computer is a gadget that X, Z, Y, then takes you into software. So it just gives you the academic aspect of it. And, you know, our generation, we've always joked about that I was taught this in school.
But
It's
kwa ground vitu ni
different. You know, so we are bringing the practicability aspect of it. For instance, online marketing or online jobs. Yeah, these are the futures of work. Again, into our programming, we are training them on robotics. The future of works is on there, where, you know, robotics and all that are going to do everything. But again, as we are training them on this, we want them to come up with their own solutions. Just like, with all due respect, women will tell you, in as much as you're trying to advocate for women, if you're not a woman, you don't know what
you don't know how that
feeling.
The shoe fits.
Yeah. You don't know. So that is where we are equally trying to train them and form clubs and ride on their passion so that they can come with solutions. And you go into these clubs, interestingly, our clubs have turned out to be the best classes in all those schools.
Because I wanted to ask
and
that.
Our trainers, and, you know, going into those schools, you're given like 1 hour to do the trainings. Surprisingly, the kids push it to 2 hours and they never want to leave. Yeah, they're more interested and they never want to leave. So we're even now struggling because there are more who want to join. Right? So we've started thinking of scaling.
And with no bias whatsoever, I'm looking at the deliverables between the two. In a computer class, just the way you're saying, it has got what a computer is, the basics of it. And then when we come to your club and your program, it's quite more advanced. It is more detailed. So that means it's more empowering. So what happens then to, quote unquote, the normal kids who would want to pivot and come into the program? Do you have any allowance for them, or you've categorically said this is tailor-made for young teens, girls living with disability?
Now, we've tried to be flexible as we can. In that, as we were going, we were trying to test out this with 30 girls with disability.
Per school?
Generally, because again, as an organization, when we were going in, it was kind of, deep waters.
Baptism by fire. Let's go in and see how it's going to be.
Because personally, I'm not living with any form of disability. So we were just riding on assumption, trying to look into that. So we were going just to test it out. Can this work? And that is the best way of just, science or research works like that. You have to test out something, conduct a research with a certain sample. Then after that, there is an outcome, there are recommendations, and you're able to justify whether it's doable or not. So we went with 30. So we gave it a latitude. And now that explains to you where we are at 128. And the desire to join the clubs keeps shooting, right? Part of assessing how is our programming going on, they have to register. Attendance list, it's always full. And any time that 1 or 2 students have to miss out, they send their colleagues to apologize. Look, either one is not feeling well or they are caught up in something, blah, blah. They never miss out.
So on intentionality.
Yeah. And we let them sign them out by themselves. So we've seen there is a big desire into it. So we expanded from 30 to 128 just to accommodate. So added other extra. Interestingly, as we were forming these clubs, our main focus was on girls with disabilities. So again, boys with disabilities engaged us and said, no, so we came up with an inclusion policy. However, now we've ensured that there is a 70%. So it's 70 to 30%. So 70% girls and then 30% boys.
As a man, do you think there's any element of discrimination? And I want to take you back to what you said earlier in the podcast, that we are living in times where there's visible evidence of more women are in the front lines, More women are taking leadership roles. Except for politics. That's why we still have a gap to fill. But I mean, girls are out here doing their thing,
Yeah.
Do you think have you ever felt like, oh, we're leaving out the boy child?
Again, we had that feeling. But again, interestingly, when we have to talk about social justice and all these factors, you look into, girls are left. But again, we are again in a different spectrum of marginalized. Again, disability.
Yeah.
So you realize, in as much as girls are thriving, but those with disability are lagging behind.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to bring them, because that disconnect again is there. So girls are thriving, but how about girls with disability? Right?
Yeah.
They're continuing to lag behind. So what we wanted to try or test is, let's let them move together. And then just the conceptualization that tech provides a very good opportunity for persons with disability, even if you live in the aspect of lack of mobility. From your comfort, you can do and operate everything.
Yeah.
Because even when you go to organizations or workspaces, their biggest challenge with persons with disability is mobility. And again, accessibility, right? Accessibility and adaptability. But you realize that with the tech is coming with a multi-layer to solve all that. For instance, with AI, it allows adaptability, it allows accessibility, it allows inclusion, because with the digital, with that space, anyone can access.
Yeah.
Like you say, save for politics, where you have to go somewhere, vetted, campaign, then you're allowed in. But with tech, you can access. And interestingly, when you look at the statistics from International Telecommunication Union, you find that the discrepancy is around 10%. For instance, if 71% or 70% of men are able to access online engagement, then you find that girls come closer to 65%. Yeah, that's according to IT, International Telecommunication Union Organization, So you find in terms of online engagement, the difference or the deficit is 5%. Yeah. But now when you come to persons living with disability, just accessing accessible assistive devices is at 3%.
Wow.
Yeah. So what does that tell you? You can't count girls into that 65% of women who are engaging online. You can't count them.
Yeah.
Because them, they need assistive devices or assistive technology to access. But their access to this technology is only at 3%. That is why we are trying as an organization to form now disability digital hubs, where within a community, a person living with disability can easily access.
Okay.
Right?
Bernard, whatever the hubs the government is rolling out, with the numbers that you're sharing, there's a very evident gap in the assessment that is being done on the ground. Venye tu tumesema, on paper things could be different. Kwa ground pia unakuja unapata things are different. Are they putting such things into consideration, that even as we want to empower the communities? Because even as I said, you see these kids, when you empower them at school, where do they go back to? The communities.
Community, yes.
And it's a good thing that you have the government rolling out the tech hubs to ensure that now people from the community, children, are empowered. Have they evidently put this into consideration?
Not quite. And that's why we are looking into such partnerships, right? That's why we are looking into these partnerships in terms of safeguarding, inclusion, and all that.
Yeah.
For instance, government has so far rolled out 300 hubs, like community hubs, if I'm to go by CONSA statistics. Yeah, there is a gap in terms of inclusion. And some of these things are easily solved. You just need to install the softwares, speech to text, voice to text, and persons with disability can access these platforms. Can access these facilities.
Yeah.
So it's just an advocacy aspect or issue that we are trying to work around and do that. Now, the other safety net that you're saying is in matters of safeguarding, because again, remember when we were growing up, again, I'll keep referring to, our better days. going to watch a movie, because there were very limited TVs and videos, video sets and all that. So the only person watu wa mtaa kama sisi, you would go to a video bar, right? You pay your 10 shillings, you would go in, watch Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris. But again, they were abused because there are other, not so good content that was being aired there. Right? So again, what we're trying to partner with government is that once they form these hubs, it's not left out for scammers. You've heard of Yahoo boys and all that, so that they're not abused. So interestingly, in our clubs, how we joke, when we start, we ask, how many of you want to be hackers? And you see them raise,
Yeah.
And they all say they want to be hackers, but just on a light touch. But as we train them again, we tell them, no, hacking doesn't pay. It's not worth it. There are a lot more opportunities. Pardon?
Isn't it worth it? Isn't it? Because I think, let me tell you, here at Speak Up Afrika, we actually have very great conversations that aim to inform, engage, and empower.
Yeah.
And sometimes we humanitize the conversations as much as possible. Because let me tell you, Bernard, there could be a young person watching us out there.
Yeah.
The likes of Wash and all the, and especially with tech, you cannot run away from, especially social media, propagating this element of life that this is the way to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Vijana wangapi mtaani wamesema wote kwenda kwa employment juu wanaona boys wa forex.
Yeah.
That's what's paying. That's what's up.
Yeah.
In first world countries, if you're a good hacker, what does the government do when they catch you? They adopt you. They absorb you into the system so that you bring your expertise home so that we can use it. So when you tell them that it's not worth it, but social media is showing them, Bernard, the flashy life, the good life, this is where it's at.
Yeah.
How do we balance that conversation?
Yeah, we try to handle that. And, a module, we talk about cybersecurity, and, just to make it clear out there, I'm not an IT guru or a software. I'm just a social justice person, trying to bridge gaps, ensure there is inclusion and all that. But from the little knowledge I know, there is good hacking and there is, there is both positive and negative, right? So it depends on how you use it. If you're using it to scam people, then the law will catch up with you. That's not up to me to decide, but that's for the law to decide, right? But we are trying to have them, even if they're to become hackers, then let them become hackers who are contributing to something positive for the society, right? Right? Something that is positive, and then something again within the law. But we try to tell them again, to train them. They're better paying jobs. If you're good at hacking, why don't you become a software engineer? Right?
So that's the alternative.
Why don't you come up with a solution? Right? You read into Oyugi's story, and I like listening. There's a story I listened about. I learned about him. He became a software, I don't know whether he's a software developer or a computer scientist, out of desperation for work. So he would walk into some NGO that had started, was doing some community engagement, I think, and they had a laptop. So out of his free time, he would go and interact with the laptop. He started learning web design. From that, he approached governments. I'm saying it's not bad. You don't have to hack government for you to benefit.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, there are good hackers who contribute government co-ops and they help develop. So Ayugi started developing websites for governments for free because we were at that digital age. So he did that for a couple of ministries. They saw his relevance. Through that, he started learning the gaps. Again, in a platform where World Bank was there, he highlighted on the gaps. And he started creating interfaces, how technology can be an enabler, can be a solution to do away with paperless, provide online services. Look at where he is today. Right? Look at where Yugi is today. Just the simple digital literacy knowledge that he gained over time. But today he's managing government.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The platform, the biggest platform that government is relying or depending on, it's from him. So that's what we're equally trying to train these young participants on and girls. Come up with a solution for something. Because there are always gaps. Come up with a solution for something. Robotics is here. Coding is here. AI is here. For instance, there is a model we are developing, and only that we can't show it in camera, but we are trying to, Maseno is coming up with it. Again, we've embraced research and innovation in our programming. That's why we are looking for collaboration with, different entities. So the person who's coming up with his avatar, text to sign language, is a young boy, and he's now doing his PhD at Maseno. So he's coming with solutions. So again, we have an aspect of mentorship in that there are many opportunities into this. Look at, top billionaires in dollars in the world.
Tech.
It's tech.
Yeah.
Right? It's tech. Yeah, it's tech. So we are trying to train them. There is a whole opportunity out here. Yeah, and that's why we are trying to catch them when they are young, help them develop interest, show them that they can.
I was
and then
actually
build on that.
coming to that.
Yeah.
That why did you see the need to bring the intervention to the girls when they are young? A teenager, they're pretty young.
Yeah.
They're actually developing.
Yeah.
But I'll let you answer that. Why did you see the need to bring the intervention to them when they are very pretty young?
Yeah. When they're young, it's easy for them to develop passion and build their confidence and help them understand. And from that age, they're able to start developing a vision around that. That's why we decided, let's go for them when they're young. Because again, if you go to them when they're big, for instance, in high school and that, the passion is lost. So people are looking for opportunities. Nataka kazi. So if I can learn IT, then I'm able to get a job.
Yeah.
So it becomes more of a livelihood thing, right? Economic livelihood.
Operating from necessity.
Yeah, from necessity. But what we want is for them to develop passion, come up with solutions, because indeed they're facing a lot of challenges, and the world, people are not focusing on that. So you can imagine a young girl with disability, if they're well trained on coding, and they'll start thinking around solutions that can solve their problems or that can solve the community that they hail from.
Yeah.
So that was our main aim, that, target them when they are young. And indeed we were right. Yeah, indeed we were right, because we go into those classes and they are so proactive and active, and we can see the passion from them. For instance, again, catching them when they are young is to safeguard and protect them. In one of the classes, because they're consuming these platforms, one young girl asked one of our facilitators that, what should I do online when someone asks for my picture?
Oh, wow.
Right? Right? So you see our necessity of getting them when they're young. So it's simply to tell them, don't share your pictures. And actually her colleagues are quick to tell her, no, how do you do that? You don't do that. So she will grow knowing how to respect herself, understand her privacy, knowing that out there things are not good. Yeah. So you find if you train this, just jokingly, then we might end the culture of tuma nude, finding nudes all there, because they start understanding, no, I should not send to someone my pictures.
Yeah.
Because it gets to an innocent picture, and there are many pedophiles out there. Then it gets to, I just want to see, you without any clothes on, and before you realize,
you're so far into it. Bernard, so to bring the conversation to an end, but I know we will have these conversations going on and on and on.
Sure.
What future are you seeing with the interventions that you are rolling out? I know you've told us it's a pilot program, and you've grown from 30 to 128. There's a dream and a vision that you have. In an ideal world, what are you dreaming to achieve?
In an ideal world, what we are dreaming to achieve is inclusion for equal opportunities. So that we've started with education, and we want to move beyond education into economic opportunities. The future of work, it says, is online. But again, what we are looking into is train these young girls or persons with disability, both boys and girls, so that they can be able to come up with solutions. They can be able to come up with solutions to try and do away with the previous challenges, the traditional, the systemic challenges or exclusion that they've faced over time, those barriers. Our main aim is we want to do away with the barriers that persons with disability have faced, right from education to economic, labor, name it, health, name it. So that is communication. Because they've had a communication barrier for quite some time. You find them, they can't engage because you don't understand sign language. So by coming up with AI solutions that are able to transcribe text into sign language and therefore enable communication, that's what we are looking up to, like real solutions that can empower and provide opportunity of engagement for this particular special interest group. Any form of engagement, because we don't want to determine for people their lives, right? But just real engagement. If it's social, then they can equally engage online. That's where the world is. If it's marketing, the world has shifted into online spaces. So that's what we want to try and do. Just equip them right now as they're still young. And then probably as we delve into the next century, then 20th, 19th solution, 20th and 19th century challenges shall have been resolved. So things like communication, upcoming generations of persons with disability should not struggle with communication. It should not be that they can't talk to Wendy because Wendy does not understand sign language.
That's true.
But through the use of a product of an application, then Wendy can equally engage them. I get into my phone and I realize that there is a translator. So that even if I travel to India, I just need to put it into text in English.
Then it
translates into Gujarati. So I can communicate to anyone there, right? So those are some of the solutions you're looking into. Financial inclusion. You realize that you go to many banks, they're not adaptable to persons with disability, right? They're not adaptable. So we're coming up with solutions where you can have a whole a LED kind of screen that is able to translate sign language. So when there's a communication, even at airports, there's a communication. So speech is translated into sign language. Braille formats are easy to access. They can be printed out into tactile formats. And therefore, these are some of the solutions we want to look into because these things are already there. And equally empower people to understand that even in your laptops, in your phones, these accessibility features are there so that this particular special interest group can equally engage well. For instance, my phone, I can comfortably give it to a learner or a girl with disability. All she just needs to do is go into settings, activate the accessibility feature, and choose the solution that befits her nini, that befits her transcription. So long goal is to empower them, but we are looking into scalability mechanisms. So we want to move beyond the participants, engage government, engage community, and engage their caregivers. And as we conclude into this, it's not interesting. What really hurts when you engage these schools and the caregivers, you're told, when you go to these special needs schools and it's time for closing, unlike other students who enjoy going home, most of them want to stay back in school. Why? Communication barrier. Because you go home, your mom does not understand sign language. You go home, your mom does not know how to read Braille text or your family, so you feel secluded.
So the community level where there's a big gap there.
There is a big gap there.
I was in a forum where someone said, I think we really need to do a lot when it comes to inclusion. Because, for example, if you look at our national broadcasting stations, it is only at news time that I think it is a must that we have sign language interpreters. But what happens after that? We have adverts, we have shows, we have movies. So do we do that as a point of just checking a list that, oh, there's inclusion when it comes to,
True.
you know, but when it goes through running the program. So, I mean, let's give the lunch hour bulletin an hour and a half, the evening one an hour and a half, morning one an hour and a half. That's almost like let's give it 5 hours out of 24 hours of running a station where you aim to be communicating with the people. It is only 5 hours that we have of inclusion. And as you give your closing remarks, I want you to just give your parting shot in that regard. Ubuntu, we are because other people are. And there's a great call. I've listened to you the whole time. There's a great call for collaboration. There's a great call of us holding our hands together and saying, from school to community to workplace to the general society, let's work together. What are your parting shots and your call for the need for collaboration?
My parting shot, one, is just to, encourage the entire actors or the society at large that AI is bringing solutions. We should not be rigid. We need to unlearn. We need to do away with the misconception and stigmatizations that we've developed over persons with disability. Tech today is providing opportunities and solutions that can enable us engage efficiently with persons living with disability, and they can operate to optimum, just like any other person, as long as they are allowed or they are provided with the rightful assistive device or technology to enable them work. And therefore, we should not discriminate them further. Tech has provided that opportunity, right? And those that are not there, AI, through the advent of AI, there are things that are working in progress. So we just need to learn and embrace. And just like we've said, in our workspaces, where gender has always become, we have, gender frameworks to safeguard girls. Let us just start coming up again with disability frameworks that allow inclusion, allow safeguarding, and equally allow opportunities for their growth. That's what I would say. The opportunities are there, and let us take our time to engage them. By the time you engage them, then you learn they are able. Disability is not inability. Yeah, when you engage them, it's not inability. We have judges, when we were in that forum, we have judges.
Yes.
Yeah, who have visual impairment, and they're doing remarkable
Brilliant
jobs within the judiciary. Right? And therefore, to me, tech is providing the solutions. We need more collaborations. We expect more support from government because it's only government that can push this. They're the only ones with the machinery. They are the ones who develop policy. We need policies. For instance, we have good enough. There was a PWD Act that was developed. There are policies on affirmative action, on job mainstreaming. These are not being implemented. And therefore, as we do our programming, we are looking at how do we capacitate these young girls with disabilities so that by the time they turn to the age of 16 or 18, they are all rounded and they can choose any opportunity that they want. Yeah.
I think with that, so much power will be given to them. And I take home something fundamental that you've said, that if we are able to bring this inclusion to us, in a couple of years, problems of the 19th and the 20th century will be a thing from the past. But thank you so much for joining us here at Speak Up Afrika, where we continue to bring you conversations that aim to inform, engage, and empower. And today, we see that a great form of empowerment is inclusion. Once we are inclusive of all these people, and not just as a form of ticking a box out of a document that you have to sign to implement the greater goal, but rather intentionally being aware and careful to just ensure that we bring a brighter future, even to people having disabilities, will be the game changer for us. Thank you for joining us on this episode today. My name is Wendy Lois. For now, I will love you and leave you, and I will be seeing you on the next episode. Kwaheri.